all the new DVD collections that come out of that show are missing all of the extra long scenes. It's such a jip.
Really?
I feel sorry for the people. Yeah. Yep. And like even on Netflix, when Friends came onto Netflix, we were stoked. And when we were watching them, we were like, wait, no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. What's going on? And then we got out our DVDs and we started watching those again. And we were like, they cut out. This is the gypped ass version that doesn't have the great ends to these jokes. So,
wow. This was my life, ladies and gentlemen, for years.
Yep.
When I was roommates with Jeremy.
So no one told you life was gonna be this way.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
You mean our guest tonight is
Dedicated to truth, justice, and peace. It's the world's greatest superpower show.
And welcome to Minding the Multiverse. My name is Gabriel.
and I'm Jeremy.
And we are here to talk about comics, culture, and grade school book fairs. Jeremy, were the Scholastic book fairs a thing at your school growing up?
Absolutely. I loved the Scholastic book fairs. They were the best.
Wasn't that awesome? Like, I would look forward to that for like
They
weeks.
were. Yeah, whenever you found out that a book fair was coming up, it was like everybody, I mean, the whole school really liked it. I remember everybody in my class, and there may have been a few people like, oh, fucking read. But like, yeah, I mean, everybody was excited. And then the whole school, it was the whole deal where all day it was all about the Scholastic book fair.
Right. And there was always something, like even for the kids who like weren't big readers, like there was, like there was fun stuff in there. Like I think there was even like toys in there.
There were, yeah. I remember that there was Legos, small Legos would be sold during that. Yeah, little. I mean, they always tried to bend towards some kind of
something,
something that was educational at least.
Yeah.
Luckily, Legos are viewed upon as like educational.
I would think so. Yeah. And if you can get them Clifford the Big Red Dog themed, then you can put them in the Scholastic Book Fair.
Exactly. And that works for me because I mean, I love those things. Yeah, it was always fun time. Always.
I remember getting the catalog. Like that was a big deal. Like you got the catalog and it was a full color.
Yes. It was the same feeling. Getting that catalog was kind of the same feeling as checking the mail during Christmas time, like in October, November, and you would get the wish list from like Sears.
Yeah, it was that kind of catalog too, where it's just like, I want that and I want that. And then you'd circle 90% of the stuff in the catalog.
Yep.
and then your parents would be like, all right, narrow it down to 2.
Yep. Yep. $5 and below is usually what I got.
Yeah, that was a special section. That was always the one I would go to. Like, okay, well, I know I can get something out of here. I might not get the big hardcover Calvin and Hobbes collection, but I could probably swing something out of the $5 box.
Hell yeah. Just one of the smaller trades, the Scholastic Book Fair was, I mean, even on my bookshelf right behind me, I still have a lot of the comic strip books that I got, Calvin and Hobbes, Garfield, The Far Side. I got them from the Scholastic Book Fairs.
Nice. I was happy to know, as I was writing this up, I was happy to know that they're still doing them.
Yes.
So the book fairs are still a thing. And they have adapted to this new world. So they have a couple different options for different types of school situations. And they even have a drive-through option where someone in like SWAT gear will hand your child the book of their choice while Clifford the Big Red Dog dances around in the background.
I was traumatized, Summer. Okay, your generation wouldn't get that.
Bitch, my generation gets traumatized for breakfast.
Hey, you know what? That's awesome.
Hey, it's got to happen, and their whole messaging was like, hey, you got to give kids something to look forward to, because man, this kind of sucks right now. Like, you got to give them some normalcy, something to look forward to. We're gonna do what we got to do. So I congratulate them.
Hell yeah.
On that. They were almost the hero of the week, but I didn't want it to sound like we were getting sponsored.
Oh,
hey, I'd take it.
us.
Listen, I'd take a Scholastic sponsorship, but
yeah, Papa Scholastic, give us the monies. I'll fucking rep your books like crazy.
Yeah, because like Scholastic is a name that gives us both, warm, fuzzy feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be legitimate.
Yeah, get smooth brain little children to freaking read. It's hard getting kids to read. I have 2 that don't mind it and one that hates reading, and it's really unfortunate. But
Yeah, I understand that. Like, I was a big reader as a kid, but I was definitely friends with kids who were like, "You are a dork. Get that mess out of here."
absolutely.
But it is fitting that actually Scholastic is bringing us our selection today. Speaking of warm and fuzzy feelings, it's a warm and fuzzy tale of three cousins and their adventures trying to find their way in a beautiful but sometimes scary new home. This week, we're covering 1995's Bone by Jeff Smith. And this was a pretty indie book for a long time. And you had to be pretty cool to be reading Bone during its initial run.
Yeah. Always been aware of it. Never ever have I read it. And this is, I'm going to guess, a big departure from our usual dark content.
So we're transitioning from Punisher last week to this week. It's a little breather, but it's no less dense in story. Like there was a lot going on with the Punisher. There's the different families, and there was the different characters we had revolving around, the neighbors and all that stuff. This is telling a pretty, at least the start of what is a very big story. So the Bone book series is pretty long. There's, I don't know, like a dozen or so of the collected books.
Okay.
So we're going to be hitting the first one this week. So we're just going to kind of introduce the characters, kind of introduce our environment, and we're going to kind of lead into what seems like a very Conan the Barbarian type of story.
All right. I like that. That works for me.
All right. So I know you're not super familiar with Bone, but like, do you know the characters? Do you know what I'm talking about?
So when it
Like the
comes
visuals?
to Bone, yeah, the visual. I know I have a really strong image in my head of what the main character looks like, and I know that I've thumbed through a book once or twice in the past. But the main character, yeah, I have a really strong image in my head.
And it's very minimalistic.
Okay.
It's a very, very easy character. But if you haven't seen Bone or know the characters I'm talking about, I'll paint you a quick picture. So imagine Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, but like more minimalistic.
Okay.
So imagine if they were all white with even softer features and kind of like Mickey Mouse, but without the ears.
It's kind of like a walking cloud.
I was going to say, I know this could sound terrifying, but it's actually very cute. They do. They look like
walking
clouds.
around marshmallow puff.
They do. They do. And what's interesting is they are transposed against very realistic characters on the other side. So the characters are very cartoony. They're very soft, but they're interacting with very kind of realistic animals that we know and people. So there are humans in this story, and then there are these guys.
Interesting. Is it like a dream state?
No.
Like, is Bones World kind of another? No, it's just.
Not that I can tell.
Okay.
Yeah, they talk about their town a little bit, where they're from, but you don't see it.
Okay.
Yeah. But speaking of the art, it's absolutely gorgeous. I love the art in this book. The wilderness scenes are minimalist and wordless, but they tell a fully complete story of isolation and exploration. It's really amazingly done. And the Bone cousins, they also have very few features, but you never have trouble deciphering what emotion the character is expressing. He uses that canvas very well.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying here. Yeah, it's almost got a watercolory, painterly feel on some of these panels.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, it really feels like a spiritual successor to Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, I mean the art style is absolutely similar.
Yeah. And it's like it has that great cartoony art with almost out of place beautiful landscapes.
Right.
So remember, like in Calvin and Hobbes, like he would be, he would go into a dream.
Yeah.
And then he's flying his little spaceship through a canyon.
Yeah.
That looks like the Grand Canyon. Like he's very cartoony in the middle of it, but the environments are beautifully rendered.
Yeah, the best example in my memory of what you're describing is not so much his dreamscapes, but more like when he and Hobbs are going down some crazy hill in his wagon.
Yes.
And they're having a big deep discussion about something as they fly down this hill to their deaths nearly. Yes. And the scenery all around them is just gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, like the trees are beautifully done. The rocks are beautifully done. The sunlight is beautifully done. Like, this would be a beautiful landscape painting, and then you also have these very engaging, cartoony characters placed in the middle.
Yeah, inks and watercolors. Yeah, bright, vivid colors.
Yeah, and that's what this feels like to me. So it's all this amazing art, and then also coupled with solid jokes.
Right.
Like, Calvin and Hobbes is funny. Like, it's still funny.
One of the best.
Right. And so you have that nice combination of the two, of this really amazing art and really good jokes.
Nice.
So this, like a good Calvin and Hobbes collection, is a very feel-good book. Like, you can rip through at least the first half of this book pretty quickly, just kind of in awe of the environments that you're being placed into.
I think we need that right now.
It felt good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Like, it was a fun light read.
Nice.
Yeah. And so part of the simplicity of the characters might be because the Bone Cousins are characters that Jeff Smith has been drawing since he was 10 years old.
Well, I mean, that obviously lends to the feel, huh? Yeah,
right.
sure.
Where everything's kind of soft and easy to draw, learning expressions, things like that.
Yeah.
And you can see examples of his childhood art in the book, The Art of Bone.
Oh, very cool.
A ginormous art book covering the entire evolution of the character throughout Jeff Smith's life. Like, you know,
That's
from his little kid drawings to scholastic repainting.
Right.
You know, his original stuff. So check that out. I got to see a copy of the book at my local comic shop during my last visit. It's very expensive, so I just looked at it. I promise I'll buy it one day.
That's the worst feeling. This is the thing that I need right now, and it costs more than
it's expensive, but it's one of those big art books, you know, like where you're not surprised when you turn the cover over and you're like, yeah, that seems right. I still can't afford it, but that seems right. That's
how much trouble am I going to get
right
if I buy this?
Yeah, exactly. And how far can I run with a book this big, and will they catch me?
Yes, that is another question we struggle with. Hey, what's that? Yoink.
Yeah. So I actually I found this book because during my last visit to my local shop, I told Tom, the owner, that we were doing an episode on Bone, and he was like, "Oh, hey man, you got to check out this book. It's the greatest. It's the whole history of Bone." It's like, cool. And then he flipped to the page that he did for the book.
Nice.
I know. And then that's when I found out that Tom and Jeff Smith are friends, and Jeff asked Tom to contribute art to the book.
That's so cool.
How cool is that? So, again, pro tip, kids, talk to the owner of your local shop.
It's
kind of like being friends with the director of your favorite museum.
Like, no shit, huh?
They know everything.
Insider information, yeah.
Yeah. So that was very fun. And I'm also like low-key trying to turn Tom into our podcast celebrity. Like D. Snider was the resident rock star at Wizard back in the day.
That'd be sick.
Hey, this is D. Snider, and I'm not going to tell you from what or from who, because if you don't know who D. Snider is, you shouldn't be watching this damn show. I'm an icon, for God's sakes.
So, in short, these characters are loved by their creator, and it shows. Like, this isn't filler. This isn't a guest spot. You know, this isn't, an idea he had and threw it together. This is something he's been working on for his entire life.
Yeah, labor of love. It's literally the life's work.
Yeah, this is his opus, and he puts everything he had into this story, and it is an absolute joy.
That's great.
The version I'm using today is the newly colorful Scholastic edition. Like I said, back in the day, this was super indie. I mean, it was like the hipsterist of hipster, and it was black and white, and everyone was cool with that. It looked great in black and white. And I personally never once was like, you know what? This would be better in color, homie. Never once.
Yeah, I mean, it was that good, yeah.
Right. It never felt like it was missing anything. But, boy howdy, this full color edition is a doozy.
It looks great. It really does. A quick Google search will show you. It looks fantastic.
Really does. The color absolutely adds to the overall quality, and I would absolutely recommend checking out in color. And especially if you were like me and read this ages ago in its original black and white. Like, it's a treat coming back to it, to it now. So we start off our story with our 3 cousins being run out of Boneville, their hometown and namesake, because they're descendants of the founder, but have not really followed in his footsteps. Our 3 cousins, and this may get confusing, so I'm gonna try to enunciate really clear on this. It's easier when you're reading it. But our 3 cousins are Phone Bone, Phony Bone, or Fonsible P Bone, as he likes to be called, and Smiley Bone.
Smiley Bone. All right.
So Smiley is easy, but Phone and Phony, I'm going to be using those kind of, intermix. So I'm going to try to enunciate really clearly.
Yeah, it's a lot of the similar sounding mouth sounds.
Exactly. And visually, Smiley Bone is tall and lanky. So he's the goof of our goof troop here. Like he looks like Goofy. He's got that same kind of shaped body,
Right.
slumped shoulders, very casual. But Phone and Phony are nearly identical.
Yeah, I'm looking at a cover right now, and yeah,
Right.
one is wearing a shirt, and it's the only way you could tell the difference.
That's exactly it. The only way you can tell them apart is Phony wears a shirt with a star on it.
Yeah.
And it's because Phony was the richest bone in Boneville. And this is an example of that. Everything about Phony Bone is extra. Phone is naked. Phony has a shirt with a star on it. And you can also tell it's him because he's usually the one scowling or yelling at somebody.
Yeah, I'm looking at different pages, and yeah, he looks pretty upset about stuff. His eyebrows are differently set than our other fella.
All the time. Phone looks like, a mogwai you want to cuddle with. And Phony is the gremlin it turns into. And Phony is also the reason that the cousins have been run out of town. Phone and Smiley didn't do anything wrong, but they're just guilty by association.
Right.
Over the course of the book, you hear about a number of Phony Bones scams that eventually got them run out of town. So, for example, one was a petting zoo / slaughterhouse.
Oh, shit.
So that he could get paid twice for the animals.
Wow, okay.
Bring the kids in and pet them, and then you get paid again to slaughter them.
He's double dipping, yeah.
Another one was about an all-you-can-eat salad bar on a nuclear waste dump. And that way the lettuce would be good for decades.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. He was essentially the Donald Trump of Boneville.
Yeah.
And accordingly, he was run out of town.
Yeah, people get tired of that,
They really did. You can tell that they got a lot of leeway because of Phony Bone's wealth. And at a point, they just said, you know what, that's enough. You can take your money and get out of here. And Phony carries a wad of cash with him just as a reminder that he used to be the richest bone in Boneville. And he cherishes that wad of cash to the point that he gets very upset at one point because one of the bills gets wrinkled.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's very very focused.
And since this is more of a children's, or it's not necessarily a children's book, is it? Would you say it's a children's book?
So there's actually a little bit of controversy on that. There's the it's some kind of librarian or grade school teacher association that has actually flagged this book.
Okay.
Because they say even though it's cute, there's parts of it that really aren't for kids. There's some kind of scary parts, and
you could say that for SpongeBob.
True, yeah. And what, like, having read it, I would say that it's not scary, but there are definitely some kind of intense chase scenes. So it might not be for like a little kid because they're being chased by essentially monsters.
Right.
And they're scary looking monsters.
I'd be interested to find out what their actual beef with it is, because if this book has any kind of message that goes against the status quo, that's why it was flagged. Don't teach my kid nothing.
Right. It doesn't have a lot of real heavy lessons in it. It's just kind of like the beginning of an adventure story. So there's not a lot there. The only other thing I can kind of think of is there is some slight misogyny on Phone's part, but it's cartoonish in the sense that he tells a woman character that, it's the man's job to chop wood, and then he can't lift the axe. And then the girl laughs at him. and then tells him to go do the dishes. Like, that's as close as I can figure to something controversial.
I was gonna say, well, shit, you better be careful. We're gonna get Jeff Smith canceled, but no, if he was getting made fun of, that's all right.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of it. But yeah, I the only thing I can think of is there's some monster chase scenes, and there's a villain that is kind of scary looking.
Yeah,
and I don't know for sure, but I think at some point Phony Bone may have sold his soul. So that might be it too.
that could be it. That might be it. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a religious thing. I'm not sure. But yeah, so like you said, like I would say that this is kid appropriate. And Tom at our shop, that's what he said. He said this is something I recommend for young people getting into comics because it's very, it's an easy read and it's very fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't find anything controversial. But I would say if your kid scares easily, like with monsters and stuff like that.
Right.
So my parents should never have given me this book. Like, I was a real scaredy cat.
Eh.
So if you got a kid like that, maybe read it first. But I would say this is a young adult book that you can definitely get something out of as an adult.
And I would say that if your kid is scared of stuff like this book, you need to show it to them more. Make them not scared of it.
For the listeners, just so y'all know, Jeremy is like twice my size. And he once held me down and made me watch The Ring when I was, I think, 22.
The Ring was great.
I still can't shower alone.
You are welcome.
All right. So our three cousins, they've been on the run for 2 weeks and are wandering through the mountains and running low on supplies when we start our story. And things are looking a little bleak. They don't want to turn around because they've just outrun the mob, the angry mob that was following them.
Okay.
They got to go forward, but they don't know where they're going.
Going back, not an option.
Going back's not an option. So while they're trying to decide where they're going to go next, they're overrun by a swarm of locusts. It's a really cool visual. It's just panels and panels of thousands of little bugs. And the cousins get separated. They all just run in directions trying to get out of this swarm.
So they get split up by buggles, huh?
Exactly. And Phone falls down into a deep canyon, just tumbles and tumbles and tumbles, finally hits the bottom. And when he hits the bottom, that sound awakens a large, shadowy creature that begins to stalk him without his knowledge. And we learn that this is the great red dragon. And for some reason, he seems to be looking over Phone Bone. It's kind of like watching out for him.
Huh.
Now, Phone still doesn't know this. He's just wandering through with a dragon following him.
Oh, one quick question.
Yeah.
Are these three characters the main character, or is one of them the main character?
I would say that Phone's the main character.
Okay.
But everyone calls him Phone. They don't call him Bone.
Okay.
So I think the book is about the Bone cousins.
Right.
But the main character, at least so far, is Phone.
Like Phone, phone?
Yes.
Okay.
I know. It's fine when
like,
you're reading it.
Phone bone or phone home? Like I'm what?
Right. And it's Phone, and then phony is Phoney.
Okay.
So when you're reading it, they look different enough to where your brain doesn't trip over it. But saying it out loud,
sure.
They phone and phony. All right, Phone Bone did this, and Phony Bone did this. It's like, wait,
yes.
who?
Wait.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about?
That's why I'm trying not to use their last name either, because that complicates things too. So phone, 1 syllable. Phony, 2 syllables. Like there's at least some difference there.
Right.
And then Smiley is easy, but he's not in this anymore. He's not in here until the very, very end. All right. Phone climbs his way back up the canyon, but he ends up on the wrong side. And it's the opposite side from where he fell, further separating him from his cousins.
Okay.
So now there's this big chasm between him and his cousins. And he's shouting out for them. He's trying to find them, but he doesn't see them anywhere. So he doesn't know where they ended up after this locust swarm, because they all just kind of ran in different directions.
Okay.
So Phone loses track of his cousins, but he does find a path down from the mountain that goes into a forest valley below. So he follows that, and we transition from fall to winter in one panel with one huge blanket of snow falling like a giant comical disc all at once.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Oh, wow. I mean, that's one way to cover the ground, sure.
Now, right after this, Phone is befriended by some local friendly woodland creatures. They're trying to help him get through this winter. And after hearing his story, they tell him to find Thorn, who is a local human who knows everything.
Wow.
So Phone spends the winter kind of making friends, surviving, and also dodging rat creatures, which are the local predators. And the rat creatures are enormous, ghoulish-looking creatures with horns and claws and glowing red eyes.
Like mega rats then.
Yeah.
Not regular old rat. Okay.
And that's what they're called. They're called rat creatures. Like, that's like their
Rat
name.
creatures.
So I like that's not a name I'm giving them.
They're referred to as rat creatures.
Rat creatures. And they're also roughly 3 times Phone's size.
Oh, I thought they'd be a little more ugly, but they're not. Those are weird looking.
They're weird, right? They're illustrated to be scary, but also kind of cute.
They're kind of cute until they open their mouth.
Right. They can get
Yeah.
scary, especially near as we get further into the book. They get scarier. But in our first introduction, they're kind of goofy, and they're written to kind of be endearing. And there's 2 that we kind of get to know that are that work in the area that Bone is in.
Right.
And they are very, very stupid. So
Okay.
Phone is eventually captured by these 2, and they finally get him. They got him in their hands, and one says he wants to make Phone into a stew. And the other says he's tired of stew. He wants to put him into a crust and bake a light and fluffy quiche instead.
I love quiche.
It's delicious. Now, while the rat creatures are bickering at each other, they ask Phone, hey, listen, do you think you can come back in like half an hour? Like, we'll have this straightened out by then. And Phone obliges and makes a run for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it. I will just go this way. You guys stay here.
Yeah, you work this out. Right.
Well, that is a deal.
Right. So that's what we're dealing with. So they're scary looking ish, but they're kind of goofy.
They're dumb.
And there's so many great examples of like the rat creatures kind of buffoonery where it does become endearing. Like you watch them fail to eat Phone over and over and over again, and you kind of almost start rooting for them. Like, all right, this time they'll get him. It's like a Wile E. Coyote kind of thing.
Yeah, it's buffoonery. I like that. They're fools, It's not like Hansel and Gretel went up to the door after following the candy trail, and she was like, "I'm not ready for you yet. Can you come back in 5 minutes?"
Yeah, it takes some of the steam out of it. It takes some of the tension out of the situation.
Right.
So during his escape, he runs into Thorn, the human who knows everything.
Okay.
Perfect.
That's a great asset, knowing everything.
I know, right? Like, let me tell you, as someone who does, it's quite a blessing. So Bone is thrilled and relieved and asks her, okay, how do I get back to Boneville? And she looks at him and says, I've never heard of it. Phone is heartbroken.
Lied to. Totally misled.
And now he's lost and alone and with no way to find his way back home.
With a stupid human that doesn't know anything.
And he's separated from his family and all that he's ever known. But Thorn is really pretty and says he can stay with her. And that's a pretty okay plan B for a Phone Bone.
Well, sure.
So Thorn is a young girl. I would put her in her teens, like late teens ish. But Phone also comes off as like a kid, so he kind of has this immediate crush on Thorn.
Okay.
So it's kind of a consolation prize. Like, oh my God, I've lost my terrible burdens of cousins, but this really pretty girl says I can go live in her farmhouse, so I'm gonna go do that.
That farmhouse looking pretty cozy.
Right. Now, meanwhile, one of the previously mentioned friendly woodland creatures stumbles across Phony Bone, That's Phone's less friendly cousin.
Wait, one of these lion-ass woodland creatures that said that the human knew everything?
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
they had good intentions. I don't think that they lied to him on purpose. I think that they really do think that Thorn knows everything. And Thorn's just like a smart girl. So it may not be, ill-intentioned.
Okay. They had the best of intentions. I see.
Right. And
Well, the road to hell. You know?
and this woodland creature, he's a very helpful bug named Ted.
Ted.
Ted the bug. That's his name. And so he
As long as
meets
it's
up,
not Ted the lawyer.
or Ted the Bundy. Yeah, no, he's Ted
I am Ted of the Bundy.
of the Bundy.
I'm going this way.
Yeah, no, he's much friendlier. He's
Okay.
much more likable. Much less stabby. So he's a helpful bug. He comes across Phony and he says, "Hey, I met somebody a while back who kind of looked like you, and he was looking for his cousins. Are you looking for your cousins?" He's like, "Yeah, I am. Point the way, jerk." And like, "All right."
You stupid bug.
Yeah. And he goes, "Well, I don't know where they are, but I know someone who probably will." So Ted introduces Phony to Ben, and Ben is Thorn's grandmother.
Ben is Thorn's grandmother. Okay.
Yes.
Ben.
Now, Grandma Ben, she's a hardy old woman who races cows for a living.
As one does.
And I don't mean races cows against each other. I mean she physically races against cows.
So she is running against the cow.
Yes.
Okay.
And people can bet on her, or if they're looking to lose money, they can bet on the cows.
Nice.
Now, Grandma Ben is on her way home from the races when she crosses paths with Ted and Phony. Now, Ted introduces Phony to Grandma Ben. And Grandma Ben, something important to know, is very proud of her racing cows.
So she's very proud that she races cows.
And she also has the racing cows.
So she has cows and she's very proud of them as well. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a whole system. It's a whole weird system.
Racing cows reminds me of Racing Snail from the Never-Ending Story. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So she's walking. She's got a group of cows behind her. She's on this path, and she encounters Ted the bug. And Grandma Ben, she asks Phony, "Hey, would you like to ride one of my special racing cows?" "No, I don't want to ride one of your stupid cows."
Ooh.
There's a panel of silence.
Yeah.
Then Grandma Ben begins to roll up one sleeve and says, "Ted, dear, I think you'd better leave. I'm going to tear this little fella apart from the inside out."
Damn, I like Grandma Ben.
I thought you would.
She ain't take no shit
No.
from no cloud.
Nope.
Some marshmallow dude.
Some rude cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to like her even more coming up. I know.
Nice.
It. All right. So Grandma Ben, after all this, still brings Phony Bone back with her to her farm and reunites him with Phone Bone. So now the two cousins, Phone and Phony, been reunited at this little farmhouse. It's this very fairy tale little farmhouse. It's adorable. And then we're immediately reminded that Phony is the worst.
He's just a jerk.
Yeah, he's the George Costanza of this crew. Like, he's a schemer,
Okay.
he's rude, he's loud, but he's funny to watch spin out, so we keep him around. So, Grandma Ben says the Bone cousins can stay with them, but they have to sleep out in the barn. Grandma says Thorn can't have pets in the house. Thorn says they aren't pets, and Grandma says if you can't milk them, they're pets, and pets sleep outside.
Damn. Damn, she's hardcore.
Now, cut to the next day, and the Bone cousins are in the barn milking a cow. "Phony, that's the second time in 2 days that you spilled the milk." "I can't help it. It's a disgusting way to get milk." "What do you mean? It's how you get milk. There's nothing disgusting about it." "Yeah? Well, it's disgusting that I have to do it. I quit." Which is a typical exchange with Phony. So, Phone begs Phony to just behave long enough for them to get to their other cousin, Smiley.
Yeah, like chill the fuck out, bro. Like,
Right.
we're trying to do something here.
Exactly. Now, there's a huge festival coming up, and it's happening soon, and people from all around will be gathering there. And Grandma Ben is going there to race her cows. Now, Smiley-Bone apparently can't resist a chance to wager a bet and would very likely want to go to this festival. So, the plan is to see if the Bone Cousins can all be reunited at the festival. Now, as everyone's getting ready, getting prepared to leave for the festival, Grandma Ben gets a gitchy feeling. And that's in quotes.
A gitchy
Feeling. And a gitchy feeling is a terrible feeling that makes your head swim and your legs wobble. And it's a powerful omen of bad things to come.
Gitchy feeling.
And Grandma's gitchy feeling is apparently never wrong.
She's got that gitchy feeling. All right.
So, meanwhile, Phony, of course, devises a plan to make some money and decides to instead sneak off early and try to establish himself as a bookie before the festival starts.
All about making that cheddar with him.
All about it. And he steals Phone's cloak and boots and makes his way to the festival alone. Now, as Phony is wandering through the woods and making his way to the festival, he encounters our rat creature friends. Fortunately, they're napping and they don't see him, but something big is coming and Phony hides behind a stump. So this is where the story takes a turn and gets like a little DC cinematic universe dark for a couple minutes.
All right. I like it.
So we're introduced to some new characters, and we see that our rat creatures are not just random predators, but they're part of a larger structure. And they have a boss who is a much larger and much more disturbing version of themselves.
So they're kind of like little henchmen, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a massive rat creature with a spiked club called King Doc.
Oof, that looks like a scary panel.
Yeah, right?
He does look different. Yeah, he's much larger.
Yeah, he has a different look to him. Like he's a different...
He's way more menacing.
Yes, that's for sure. He has like a giant head and tiny hands.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
They're almost like the way that they're drawn, they're kind of like these weird shark-headed rat creatures. They have similar rat features, but then they're also they have really long back legs and shorter front legs.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
And they kind of have a like a fluctuating shape. You know, like they they can kind of like get real ball shaped, you know, and like kind of hunker in, and then when they reach out to attack, they're long and slender, almost like cats.
I mean, it's typical cartoonish creative license, you know.
But it's a great
it's
a great way to show motion with those characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
King Doc is definitely a different level here.
Right. But it gets creepier, right? Isn't that like, to me, that's like a turning point. It's like, ugh.
It is. Yeah, because I mean, your two little goony guys,
they're cute.
The two rat creatures, they are cute. They have very cute features. Yeah, they can be scary looking, but this King Doc, different level.
Yeah, it's not cute.
He's not cuddly.
No, I could not see him as like a plush toy that your kid would snuggle with at night.
No.
The other two, maybe. This one, no.
Not so much.
And so soon after this, we also meet King Doc's boss. And it's a human, maybe? It's a human shape, but in large, dark, flowing robes.
Okay.
And we find out that this hooded figure is looking specifically for Phony Bone and refers to him as the one who bears the star.
Referring to his shirt.
His shirt, yeah. And we also see a meeting of thousands of rat creatures, all holding torches in a huge, like, mountainous valley.
Okay.
And the hooded figure and King Doc are in the center of this huge mass. And our local rat creatures are summoned and asked about sightings of the Bone Cousins in their area. And they tell the hooded figure that they've not seen the one with the star, but they did see another one who looked like him. And they tell him they tried to capture Phone, but he's under the protection of the Red Dragon. And everyone kind of like, ooh, just saying that word, everyone takes a step back.
Ah, okay.
And this worries the hooded figure.
Yeah. Well, dragon, right?
Yeah, dragons and hooded figures. I mean, you know, they go well together painted on the side of a van. But like otherwise in lore, like they're usually on opposite sides. So a plan is set in place on the spot to kill Phone. Because the hooded figure hopes that by removing Phone Bone, it also will remove the Red Dragon from the equation when trying to capture Phony.
Gotcha.
And that's it. Like,
okay.
It's all in pursuit of Phony, but he's willing to kill his cousin to get to him.
Okay.
Now, we cut to that fairy tale farmhouse, and it's night, and it's surrounded by rat creatures.
Ooh.
Now, Grandma, Thorn, and Phone gather together inside the tiny farmhouse. Now, Grandma tells Thorn and Phone to get ready to run. She then punches through the outer wall of the house and grabs 2 rat creatures and pulls them through to start knocking them around.
Damn, Grandma Ben is she's legit.
Yeah, she goes full on Ben Affleck MMA Batman. Like, she starts throwing haymakers and Mike Tyson uppercuts, and these dumb rat creatures don't stand a chance.
I just looked her up. Yeah, she does not. She's drawn in such a way that you wouldn't expect that. Yeah.
No, you'd expect she'd have really killer, like, cookies, not uppercuts.
She's all rolling up her sleeves. That's great.
Now, Thorn and Phone are able to escape through the hole Grandma punched through the wall. And it's big enough for them to straight up just walk through.
Just walk through. Wow.
And then this triggers a pretty intense chase scene. And there are not many words here. The action is intense, and it's entirely shown in like motion panels.
Nice.
It's just a panel of them, running and jumping and running and jumping and hiding, but you're able to follow it. I mean, it's just you just rip through it because it's an intense pace. And this is something that Jeff Smith is really great at. Like, he's really great at showing motion with these simple characters. And you can see a lot of the Bill Watterson influence coming through during these scenes in like the best possible way.
Yeah, I'm looking through some of these panels as I just searched her up, and yeah, you're right. It's great art. It's very whimsical.
Absolutely, and it keeps a really great pace. You're never just sitting around. There's always action pushing the story forward. And so Thorn and Phone are frantically running through the woods, and they're encountering dozens of rat creatures around every corner. And they finally make it out of the woods and into a clearing, but are then completely surrounded. And Thorn demands to know what they want. And they tell her they want the small creature. And she says, "You can't have him." And they tell her, "Give it to us. Defiance will not be tolerated once we return order to the valley." And that is when Phone Bone smells sulfur on the air. And the rat creatures turn around and see the red dragon and Ted the bug. He's a helpful bug.
He's a helpful bug. That's good.
Now, the rat creatures immediately start hissing in fear and run away. They're out of there.
Screw that. I mean, that's the smart thing to do when a dragon comes.
Exactly. So, once it's cleared out, Thorn and Phone thank the red dragon and ask about Grandma Ben. Like, we left her back there, and she's surrounded. We need to go back there. So, red dragon tells them to hop on, and they run back to the farmhouse. He doesn't have wings. He's on foot.
Oh, okay.
But it's at a speed that almost sends Phone Bone like flying off the back of him. Like, you can tell it's very, very fast.
That's odd for a dragon not to have wings. That's a different take.
Yeah, he also has fluffy ears.
Fluffy ears. Oh, yeah, he does. And kind of a weird, like, his face kind of like has a beardish kind of. He doesn't really have a dragon look, that's for sure. More like a red buff kangaroo almost.
Yeah, you are exactly right. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, the great red kangaroo.
Yeah, the great red kangaroo. That's cool. I like the little tufts on his ears.
Yeah, it's a unique take. It's not
it's not
totally
the same
different. Dragon that you've seen over and over again. And it also it's a little more whimsical. It's a little softer. It's a little
absolutely.
There's a lot of expression in that face. It's got big eyes, big nose.
He's not creature-ish. Yeah.
Right. So they head back to the house, and when they get there, they find that it's burning. And Thorn runs towards the house to find Grandma Ben just dusting herself off. That was a little dust her shoulders off. And she says she was fine, but she was worried about them. Because she's a good grandma.
She's sweet.
Yeah. Now Thorn tells Grandma Ben that this dragon showed up and saved them. Isn't that crazy? The dragon comes up. Grandma Ben gives the dragon the stink eye.
Oh.
And she says, "Hello, dragon." And he says, "Hello, Rose."
Rose?
It's been a while.
Thought it was Ben.
And she says, "Yep." And he says, "Well, I guess I'll be going." Grandma says, "Yep." And he leaves.
There's some history there.
There's something there. That's the first time you ever heard it called Rose, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of lion folks in this world.
But, man,
critters.
like, you can see the pecking order. Like, the dragon, like, walked away.
Yeah, he was like, nope, not messing with Granny. Okay. Or Rose, rather.
Right. So, Grandma Ben says her and Phone need to have a talk. And she asks why the rat creatures want him. He says he doesn't know. He's honest. And she asks if they're after Phony Bone. And Phone says no, they don't have rat creatures where they're from. This is all new to them. So, Grandma Ben says, all right, here's what it is, but I'm going to keep an eye out on you. And with that, the trio pack up and head to the festival. Their first stop is Barrel Haven Tavern.
Barrel Haven.
Right. It's a great name
Yeah.
for like an old-timey bar.
Absolutely. I want to know what the beef is between the dragon and Grandma.
I know. You'll have to wait for the next book because it's not in this one.
It's not in this one. That's all right.
No.
I'll have to read it.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying. It like there's hints of like a much larger story just right underneath the surface of this like pretty cute adventure story.
Nice.
So, you know who else is at the Barrel Haven Tavern?
Phony.
Yes, Phony had made his way to the bar. And it's a human bar. And everyone is staring at Phony, who, remember, looks like Mickey Mouse, but without the ears.
Yeah, he's like a walking dollop of whipped cream.
Right. Now imagine, like, you're in a bar full of people, and that walked in.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what the hell?
It's like when the hobbits went to the tavern.
Right.
The human
But
tavern
even
on the border.
worse, because at least the hobbits were like human.
Yeah, like regular skin and hair and
Right.
shit.
Yeah. So he just makes his way to the bar and hollers out for a drink. Bartender, give me a beer. And he looks around and goes, man, what are these rubes looking at? You never seen a guy order a beer before?
Like, fucking, the bartender's like, why is Casper yelling at me?
Yeah, except that the bartender is Smiley Bone. Hey, he made it to the bar too.
Okay, there's a lot going on behind the scenes in this
Right.
book.
So he had found his way to the bar, and while having a few drinks, found out that this town that they're in doesn't use money. They barter in goods and services.
Oof, Phony's in for a rough time.
Yeah. So they both end up paying off their tab at the bar by doing dishes.
I was gonna say that somebody like Phony, that is an unknowable situation. Like, what?
Yep.
You don't use money? How is that possible?
Yep.
That's not real.
Yep. There's a great scene too when the owner of the bar comes back in, from wherever he was, doing dishes or whatever, but he walks in and sees now he had this one goofy looking freeloader, and now there's another one. And
Yeah.
he's sitting at the bar drinking beers too. And he comes in and goes, you better be able to pay for these. And Phony whips out his wad of cash. It's like, here you go. Here's some money.
Yeah, I got you covered, Chief.
Right. He gives him 2 bills.
Who you talking to? I'm Phony Bone.
Exactly. The bartender looks at him, tears up the bills, and Phony loses his shit.
Nice.
Bartender says, hey, that's 2 eggs, buddy. I don't know what this paper stuff is, but you owe me 2 eggs. Or get back there and do some dishes.
Oh, man. Like, there's a part of me that's like, that's really cool. But then there's this like, no, I don't want to do your goddamn dishes. And I don't have any fucking eggs.
Right,
But,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another scene where Phony is yelling at Smiley, saying, why didn't you tell me they're on a dairy-based economy?
Yeah, it's a world in which I feel like I would be majorly screwed. Like, oh, we're going back to bartering. I have no useful skills. Great.
Well, the guy who owns the bar looks like you, and I think that you would fit in well there. Just serving people drinks and yelling at fairy tale creatures who come in.
I can demand people do my dishes all day long. No problem.
So the 3 of our cousins get reunited. Phone Bone goes to the bar with Thorn and Grandma Ben. The owner of the bar has a very obvious crush on Grandma Ben. It's very sweet. But they're all reunited. It's great. They're all at the bar. 2 of them are wearing aprons. Phone is loving him. There's a great little bit too where he like the shot gets further and further away, as it's almost like, because this is kind of toward the end of the story, and you see Phone run up to Phony and give him a big hug, and then just start strangling him.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of thought it was a bit of a stretch for them to just assume, well, ran into Phony. So there's Phone and Phony together. Oh, let's just go to this festival. We're going to totally assume that your other cousin is just going to randomly make it there. He could have been torn apart by those locusts for all they know.
Right.
And then it's like, no, he'll be at the festival.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Like, that's our best bet at this point. So let's go for it. And turns out they were right in a way.
They were correct. Yeah, they were right.
So we're kind of ending on that, but we also see there's somebody else at the Barrel Haven Tavern, and it's the hooded figure. And
The hooded figure that was controlling the rat creatures?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and he appears out the window as Phony's doing dishes, and he says, "I'm here for you," and Phony doesn't look surprised. He's more of irritated.
Like, oh, you again.
Yeah, and in each panel, the hooded figure gets closer to the window. And to the point where Phony says, "Hey, take another step, I'm going to wallop you." And that's when the hooded creature just comes through the window.
Oh, shit.
Like halfway through the window and tells him, "I'm here for your soul."
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's a little weird that Phony's not surprised to see that.
Right. It's like he made a deal and he's come to collect.
Right.
So he's not surprised to see him come.
Exactly.
Maybe there's a reason. Maybe Phony made sure to leave town. Maybe it wasn't a coincidence.
Could be. So what's the hooded figure doing there? Why is Phony not surprised to see him? And why can the hooded figure stretch his neck so far?
Right. Why does he get to be so fucking creepy?
You can find the answers to these questions by picking up the next volume of Bone
Very nice.
by Jeff Smith. So the first one, it encapsulates the first leg of their journey, but it ends with all of them getting together, and then the real kind of adventure starts from there. So it was a super fun book to read. I really enjoyed it. You can go through it in a sitting, or you can pore over each panel, or you can do both like I did. I burned through it. It was really fun, and then going back over it, just appreciating each part was really nice.
Now, how many trade paperbacks are there? Like, this has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah, so there was the original run was maybe a dozen or so.
Okay.
And then they actually started adding new stories after that. And those ones actually started to gear more towards kids. So there's actually like another set of stories that are really geared towards younger readers.
Okay. Interesting.
But there's a lot here. So and like we said earlier, this was an indie darling back in the 90s. So this wasn't made for kids. Like it's
Right.
being reappropriated for kids because it's appropriate. Like it's it's a fine adventure story.
Sure.
But this was not made for kids. Like this, as an adult, I've found this story very satisfying.
Yeah, there's something very nostalgic and comforting about the art style, and the comparing it to the Bill Watterson is perfect.
Yeah. So
And
if that's
if
your
you-
jam,
Yeah, if that's your jam, absolutely go for it.
yeah.
I'm gonna read it. I'm definitely gonna go check it out.
Good. You should. And share it with your kids too. Like they'd probably very much like it. Like it's a nice little trip.
Yeah, no, I think they'd really like
Yeah.
it. I know my middle would definitely like it. It's
Yeah.
right up his alley.
Yeah. Yeah. So next time you go to the comic store, you can pick up a couple volumes of Bone and give it a whirl.
Nice. Yeah, I was actually just at my comic book store.
Yeah. Speaking of, I know
First time in a while.
Yeah, you were saying you went there and you picked up something a little new.
Yeah, so we've been mentioning it a couple of times now to go and support your local comic book shop, and we've actually kind of gotten a little our episodes have turned into, we're not going to tell you all of this extra stuff because you need to go buy it.
Yeah.
And we have literally zero affiliation with any of these people. We're getting no money. We just want people to go buy these books because I mean, we remember the dark ages when comics were literally dying before our eyes.
Yeah.
So the more people we can get out there, the better.
Yes.
Buying actual books.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree.
So I took our own advice and I went back to my comic book shop for the first time in almost a year. I feel a little bit more comfortable now, and they're doing everything they should do, so I felt comfortable with it.
Good.
And we went and I picked up the Immortal Hulk. the first couple of trade paperbacks of it.
Nice. Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, we a couple of episodes back.
Yeah.
And I really liked what you had said about like the body horror.
Yeah, I thought that'd be
going
kind of up your alley. Like I
Totally.
I knew you should be into that.
And you're dead on. Yeah, I mean, you're spot on too. There's some panels in there, and I remember looking it up too when we were talking about it. The art in it is so good, and it's so creepy, and it's a take on the transformation that Hulk goes through that I had never even considered. You think about the Hulk changing, and it's very fast. Like even in the movies,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
goes
it's
from
like a second.
Bruce Banner. It's fast,
Yeah.
right? You don't see. It's not like a werewolf transformation in a really good werewolf movie where it's all this painful ripping and tearing and cracking, but in the Immortal Hulk it kind of is. Like it doesn't necessarily say that he's in pain, but the way it's drawn is really gross, and I like it. Yeah, it's great, and I don't need to go too deep into it because I still want people to go buy it. Maybe we cover it. Maybe we do an Immortal Hulk.
I would be totally down for that. Yeah,
that would be a multi-parter, I think, because the first trade paperback doesn't really get to the meat.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what my the folks at my local shop was telling me, that the first book, it's not super thick. I mean, the first book is not a big one, but it's a ramp up.
Yes,
and then the real gross stuff starts in like the second and third, and you get really into it.
Yeah, second, third, and fourth are pretty. That's where so far I haven't finished anything by any means.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the first book is definitely a build up section to what's really going on, and it's trippy.
And that was why it was recommended by my local shop, because they know that I don't like scary stuff, and that I need a long ramp into it. So they said, here, read this first.
Yes.
If you can do this, then you can get your feet warm, and then we'll put you in here. It's
it would definitely ook you out, dude. There's some shit that happens in there that's like, oh man.
Yeah.
It's
that might
gross.
be a you thing. That might be you might cover that one.
Totally. I wouldn't mind. It's really good. So, a lot of surprises, things that I didn't know. But again, the more we do the show, the more I realize I'm not as big a fan as I thought. There's just so much that's happened that I have no idea.
Right. Yeah. There was our era that we know really well, and then there's been 20 years after that where they've kept doing stuff.
Literally 20 years.
Yeah.
My comic book knowledge from the late 90s, early 2000s has taken such a nosedive. Now my brain is filled with nothing but like the movies over the last decade.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, those were a big bit. So yeah, getting back into it now, it's like, oh man, they've been doing some crazy stuff out here while no one was looking.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I'm shocked, really. The Immortal Hulk is such a different way to take the Hulk. Like I still have yet to find out if it's canon. Like, is this an aside? But if that's like mainstream Marvel canon for the Hulk and what it's all about to be the Hulk, it's off the fucking rails. It's Clive Barker-y shit. It's awesome.
That's awesome, and that's what I keep hearing about it, is that it's gross, but it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Like everyone loves it. So good. I'm glad I was able to. We were able to get that into your hands.
Absolutely
it was,
fantastic.
Thanks to our local shop. It was like, hey man, you like weird? Here you go.
Yep. And you could tell your boy at your place that I went ahead and went with that, and I've been loving it.
I will. I'll let him know. And I think he listens to our show. So Tom, thank you for the wonderful suggestion.
Yes. Thank you for the grossness, Tom. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the nightmares, Tom.
Yes.
You're the best.
On top of that, I did a quick aside. I did clean them out as much of their Lady Death as I could.
Oh,
so.
Good. How much did you get?
Shit, I got $82 worth. So a good chunk. They had a couple of CGC graded books that I couldn't get this round, but I might keep them in mind for the future, because I'm trying to collect as much of her as I can. It's just one of my favorites. So.
Yeah. Jeremy is an unofficial Lady Death archivist.
That's right.
He's the keeper of the flame on that one.
I take donations. I should set up a PO box. It's for history's sake, so I can't offer any money. But
yeah,
you're welcome to send it my way.
for real. Spoiler alert on a future episode. The amount this man puts into Lady Death Kickstarters. That should be the title of the episode. We should do like a clickbait article. Like, you won't believe how much this guy spends on Lady Death Kickstarters.
Not as much as others.
No, there were still tiers above where you went,
yes.
and I had to scroll very, very far to get to the tier that you were at.
I went deep this time around, and I'm gonna continue to try going at a high tier for their Kickstarters.
Good for you.
Coffin Comics is worth supporting. I think they're very niche. They're definitely not a wide release type of thing.
Right.
So
Right.
it's for dudes like me. Sex, drugs, rock and roll,
The classics.
the classics,
Right on. Well, good luck to you.
zombies and girls in lingerie.
Yeah, you and Rob Zombie just
Yes.
still living the dream. But yeah, so we're gonna do some Lady Death stuff in the future, and we're gonna talk about the new Kickstarters and stuff and all that. And there's some really neat stuff coming down the pipe from them, and Jeremy is just elbow deep in it. So
Yep.
he's gonna take us through that. On the other hand, for my hold list item this week, by the way, we're in the hold list section because we just started talking about the Hulk.
Transition music.
And that's what happens when you start talking about good comics. You're like, screw whatever else we were talking about. Let's talk about this.
We forgot the cue. Oh well.
So this week I was going to talk about a video game, and I was going to talk about The Outer Wilds.
And if you're putting time into a video game, that means that it's definitely got something special.
Yeah.
You don't dedicate a lot of time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, that's true. Video games aren't my thing. That's much more Jeremy's area of expertise. But I tend to really get hooked into kind of smaller narrative of experiences. Some derisively call them walking simulators. That's more my speed. But this one has been pretty fun. Now, you've heard people other than me say good things about this game.
absolutely nothing but good things.
Right.
It's also a niche, genre of video game.
Yes.
But this one had a fairly large splash. So
Yes, it did, which is what led me to it. Because again, this isn't my area of expertise, so it had come up in my YouTube feed as like, hey, you like beautiful animation and stuff about space. Here's Outer Wilds. Do you want to lose a week of your life? And I said yes.
yes.
So kind of like Bone drops us in like the middle of an adventure, but the storytelling is so expertly done that you don't feel like you're missing anything. You're just like excited to be along for that ride. If that's your kind of jam, then this is for you.
Yeah. If you like a great story that forces you to discover. It's a discovery game. And like some people don't like that. I know that some people don't like what's the roguelite.
Yeah.
Where you have to repeat sections over and over to go further.
Right.
But that's what this is in a sense.
And so you can tell just from listening to us try to talk about it, like it's tough to talk about this game.
Yeah.
Because at least for me, like it's one of those things that it's like all you want is for your friends to experience what you did. So it's one of those things like The Sixth Sense or Fight Club or something where like you're really watching your friend's face. You're not watching the movie. You're watching your friend when the turn happens.
Right.
Because that's what you want, right? And that's kind of how this feels.
And you rarely get the outcome you want.
Right.
You know what I mean? They never appreciate it the way you do. And you're always like, you don't get it.
Right.
Anyways, go on.
This isn't for you. And that's where I'm at. It's like I want you to play this completely blind, and I want to watch you experience it. Like all of you. Is that creepy?
All of you.
All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a minor spoilers edition. All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to give away a pretty basic main mechanic. It doesn't spoil anything story related, but it's just a bit of a shock when it happens for the first time. So
Okay.
if you don't want any spoilers, skip ahead like 3 minutes, 5 minutes or whatever. You'll probably be good. Okay. Ready?
Ready.
It starts with you waking up. And you're a four-eyed alien astronaut. And it's launch day. And you wake up outside next to a campfire, as is tradition. And when you wake up, you see something odd in the sky, but you get ready for launch anyway. Your mission is to investigate an alien civilization that died out long ago. Now, how long ago? We don't know. And were they from here or just passing through? So, you get in your adorable little spaceship, you lift off, you pick a planet to explore, you land on it, you find some ruins, you translate some writings, you get a piece of the puzzle. And then the sun goes supernova. And it's really pretty. And then you die.
Imminent death. Gorgeous, yes. At least it's a nice view.
Yeah, it is. It's actually really pretty. Like it's something I've experienced a number of times. Because then you wake up next to a campfire and get ready for lunch. So it's like 2001 meets Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like a Groundhog's Day. There's a meaning that must be found.
Yeah.
And you have to start each day and slowly get clues as you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you learn things a little bit at a time, and you retain everything you learned. Your spaceship keeps a log of all of your journeys, and it presents them in an interesting way. It presents them as a rumor tree. So you discover something that leads to something else. And so you go to you can click on that, but it's just they said something about this. So, you should go check that out. Like, that's how your map is essentially based. So you retain everything you learned, but the universe around you resets.
Okay.
So everyone you talk to that next day is like, hey, it's launch day. Let's do it.
Like you and your ship are in a bubble.
But you and your ship, for some reason, retain everything.
Okay.
So it's up to you to solve the mystery, one 22-minute playthrough at a time.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you could literally. This sounds like a great game for like playing when you just have a little bit of time.
It is a perfect game if you're a busy adult,
right?
But you also want a game with a story that you can really sink your teeth into.
Yeah, if you have just under a half an hour a day, sounds like a great game for you.
And what I think is a neat mechanic is that when you discover something, when you discover a piece of the puzzle, and it's mostly dialogue, the clock stops.
Oh, that's cool.
And it gives you like a breather. You're like, okay, now I can really read this. Like, I want to read this a couple of times. Like, I really wanted to understand it. There's not a ticking clock with you trying to find lore, right?
They don't want to. There's no unnecessary stress.
Right.
Like, you found something. Now you have the time.
Yeah.
It pauses. You can check it out.
Yeah. Sit down and relax and read it. It's going to be good. And after each death, your last playthrough is played like your life flashing before your eyes.
Oh, cool.
So it's that 22 minutes condensed down to about 10 seconds, maybe 5-10 seconds. And it's all there. And it's neat to see all that you accomplished in your last round. And it's also a quick reminder, like, oh yeah, I found that thing and it was crazy, and I need to go back there and check it out again.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And so on the other side of it, the music is A+.
Okay.
It is worth the price of admission right there. It is a 70-minute hipster orgasm.
Nice.
It's ridiculous. There's some folky stuff. There's some synthy stuff. There's even some kazoo stuff.
I'm always down for a good kazoo solo.
Right? Who isn't? We need more of that these days. And speaking of, by the way, I looked up getting the Outer Wilds soundtrack on vinyl.
Right.
Because I'm hipster garbage. Good news. it exists.
Of course.
Bad news, it was a limited run and now goes for about $300 on eBay.
Ooh.
I know. So
That's not as bad as it could be.
no, you deal in limited comic stuff. That's for you. That's drop in the bucket.
eBay makes me sad. It makes me sad, and it reminds me how unsuccessful with money I am.
Yeah, it's just staring at me now in my feed.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want this? Yes. No.
Too bad.
So, like you said before, like this is perfect if you're looking for a short playthrough. Like if you're busy or you want to play something before you go to bed at night or something like that, here you go. It's a 22-minute chunk, ready to go.
Nice.
And I love this game, and I love every single playthrough. The first time was a little scary because I was like, why is the music changing? What's that sound? Why is everything
Going
turning
into
blue?
it blind is best, though. That's at least you were, you had that surprise.
It
That's
was,
great.
and it scared me. It legitimately like, and then, and you wake up. You're like,
That's cool.
What just happened? And then you go to talk to a person who's sitting there by the campfire with you, and you're like, what just happened? They're like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, I get it.
It's such a double-edged sword talking about it too. 'Cause
I know.
It's like you want people to play it,
I
but
know.
you don't want to give away too much.
Yeah, I know.
And now people are going to expect that, but it's like, how else are you supposed to get them to? Hey, there's a game that I go play.
I know.
That's it.
So, and that's how I actually got into it. There's a guy I like on YouTube, and he came up with a video, and he had a very serious look on his face in the thumbnail. And the very first thing he was like, okay, I want to talk about this game, but I don't want to talk about this game. So go buy it, play it, and then come back. And then he just stares at the screen for like 10 seconds. And I was like, okay. And so like stopped the video because I like him. I like his taste and stuff.
Right,
All
right.
Tried it out, played it, came back to that video like 2 days later. And he's like, okay, right? Okay. And then
That's a great way to do it.
and then he starts going through, and then he plays for you his first playthrough, and you can see him, learning how to, use some of the controls and learn how. And it all has like Newtonian physics, like it's real, like it's kind of hard to maneuver this spacecraft.
Right.
And then you see all that, and it's like, okay, now aren't you glad I didn't tell you? Go play that. Like it's amazing. So
That's rad. And it's 22 minutes, huh?
Yep.
22 minutes each playthrough.
give or take. So if you're reading a lot of stuff, it might be 25 minutes. Or if you don't read anything at all, I think it's 22 minutes flat. I think it's from when you wake up to when the sun explodes, 22 minutes. But you can kind of do stuff to stretch that out a little bit. It has leveraged a lot of my fears, so that's been fun. I have an irrational fear of falling into a black hole, and I've done it about 8 times now.
Hey, you know what they say about confronting your fears?
That sucks, and I hate it. But that said, I have actually loved every single playthrough of this game. So
nice.
after 22 minutes, I can walk away feeling excited for my next round, or more likely, immediately start my next playthrough and chain like 6 of them together in one sitting.
As is the way.
Yeah. So I looked up a little bit about this game, and I watched a little kind of documentary about it. And what I thought was interesting is the creator of this game said he wanted the motivation to be discovery for discovery's sake.
Yeah. It's very intentional.
Yeah. And what I think is cool is like you can't stop it. You can't fix it. But you can gain something from your time in this universe, no matter how small it might seem. So, whether it's hurtling through black holes governed by Newtonian physics, which is my specific nightmare, or just roasting marshmallows with a friend, which is how they teach you the controls in the first part of the game, which is brilliant.
Nice.
The meaning of life is out there, and you'll have a chance to discover it every 22 minutes.
Sick. When you fall into the black hole, does it spaghettify you?
Oh, it's so scary. It's so scary. It's so the first time, again, I don't want to give stuff away, but like these worlds are active. Things are happening, right? And at one point, I fall into a black hole, And I'm watching it as I'm getting closer. I'm going, no, 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 no.
That sounds amazing.
And then you hit it, and everything goes weird. And then I'll leave the rest to you. Because
that sounds great.
it's a part of the game, too. It took me about 6 times falling through the hole to realize, oh, I'm supposed to do something over here. Instead of just suffocate to death in open space. Ugh.
So it is. It's only $24.99, so that's a pretty decent entry mark.
Absolutely,
so that's not bad.
Absolutely. So yeah, give it a whirl. I absolutely recommend it. If you're paying full price, it's worth it. If you can get some kind of deal on it or something, absolutely pick it up, because
there's always going to be a deal.
Right,
they always go on
and
sale.
It's always going to go on sale right after you buy it. So
yeah, of course.
Unfortunately, although I just bought it a week ago, so it should be on sale. So you're welcome.
Soon.
Yeah, if you're listening to this episode, check out Steam right now. I guarantee you it's at least 10% off because I bought it full price. All right, so you gonna check that out?
Yes, I am. I'm gonna check it out for sure.
I would love to actually watch a stream of your first playthrough on Discord just to watch you go through it because it's neat.
I could. We could make that happen.
Yeah,
we could talk about it after.
No, I'm talking about me and you, and nobody else watching. I just want to watch you spiral out into space. All right. Well, moving on. Finally, we're going to move on to our IRL Hero of the Week, where we take a moment to spotlight heroes in our own universe. And this week, we are talking about Katie Moreno Elst. So, winter has been brutal this year. Jeremy, you got some snow recently, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he lives in a place that has snow. I live in California where snow don't go. And even I got snowed in for a week.
No. Fire's the best friend down there.
Yeah. Fire is our dancing partner, typically. Snow is not something we're accustomed to. So
no, last time it snowed in that town, I think we were like 6 years old.
yeah, it is a generational thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And I got 8 inches and snowed in for a week.
Sick.
So if things are that bad here, imagine how things are for our friends in Detroit. It looks awfully cold over there. I think 8 Mile Road has shrunken down to 4 Mile Road by now, if you know what I'm saying.
Shrinkage be real, people.
So here is where our story begins, in an empty, abandoned, vacant lot in Detroit, which, thanks to the efforts of Katie Moreno Elst and her community of neighbors, is now a bustling place for local kids.
All right.
So Katie saw the lot and thought it would be a perfect place to build an ice skating rink.
Hell yeah.
So she cleared out the lot, created a large but shallow indentation in the middle of the property, and then she called the fire department. Quote, "This rink was inspired by the freezing cold temperatures," says Katie. Quote, "and everything I've been getting on is slippery ice. So I said, hey, why not build a rink?" Soon, the local fire department was on site and donated all of the water in their truck's tank to fill the indentation.
Very cool.
Then they waited overnight, and the next morning, they had a full-on ice skating rink. How cool is that?
That is so cool, yeah.
So now the makeshift rink is full of kids and adults every single day. So the community rallied together to provide skates, helmets, gloves, and hockey gear to all of the local kids. So if you don't have skates, don't matter. Get on down here. We'll get you some skates. And people even donated walkers for kids to use while learning how to skate. It's really funny.
I never thought about that. That's a great idea.
In the video, there's these kids and they're holding on to old people walkers, just learning how to skate.
That's fantastic.
But some of the kids are good skaters. Like you see, like some of the kids are just getting their footing, and other kids are like figure skaters. They're just whipping around this place. And now they're doing lessons and skates available for adults too. So if you want to get out there with your kids and learn how to skate, you can. Some of the other local parents are providing juice and hot meals to help keep the kids going. And it's probably just to keep them outside. Like, stay out of my house.
I mean, yeah.
Go out there.
Yeah.
And
get outside.
Yeah, I would think juice and snacks is probably a small price to pay for like a kid being completely tuckered out by bedtime.
Oh, it's the best.
So, quote, the kids are out here every day. This is their recess. This is their after-school program. This is just for them, says Moreno Elst. So, Katie, you are our hero of the week. That is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really rad.
That is some outside-the-box thinking. Like,
it is, and it's really cool that the community came together to help too. Because I mean, the fire department could have easily been like, "Nah,
totally, like, no, it's our water.
this is for houses on fire." All right,
It's like, man, we're under 12 feet of snow. Like, what do you need the fire truck for? Get over here.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I loved it. I thought that was such a, like a fun thing to do. Because man, kids got it rough right now. So anything that you can do to help them out.
Yeah, I mean, she's also helping out the hospitals too with the uptick in broken wrists.
I was thinking that too. She's got to have like a waiver. Like, listen, you bring your kids on here. This is your problem.
This is just a puddle in the parking lot, people.
I ain't getting sued for their twisted ankle. You get out of here.
No, that's fantastic. That's really cool.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. So
It's rad.
all right, that will do it for this week. Next week,
Awesome.
we're gonna stay in orbit and visit our favorite intergalactic bastage. That, of course, is Lobo. Jeremy is digging deep into the Valorpian past, and he's going all the way back to the 90s. And I know that he can't wait because that's his favorite fashion era.
It is. I love the 90s.
I know you do. I do. That was when Friends was on.
Yeah, it was 94 to 2004. That's right.
He knows that off the top of his head, everybody.
It's my favorite show. I can't help it. I love it.
In the days before streaming and all that stuff, in our first apartment, we had all the DVDs of Friends, and they were just on a constant loop.
That's right.
Jeremy and our other roommate, and they were Hans and Franz, and just watching Friends DVDs and working out in the living room.
Yep. That shows the shit. I love it.
So if you like more stories like that, email us at mindingthemultiverse@gmail.com. Find us at This Multiverse on Twitter, or leave us a comment on YouTube to recommend story arcs. Tell us what we're wrong about. Or if you have a copy of the Outer Wilds soundtrack on vinyl, let me know. I will trade you Jeremy's signature for it, attached to a check from his checkbook for $300.
No donations. It's for the museum. We're building a museum.
Yes, that's it.
And that belongs in there.
That's what I'll tell our tax preparer this year.
Yeah.
So for Minding the Multiverse, I am Gabriel.
I'm Jeremy.
And remember, all of this is now canon.